We're going to talk about something magical, the magic of 63 days. What does that mean? In behavioral change, a lot of the times, which is habit formation, habit destruction. So creating a habit or stopping doing something you don't want to do, something you might be addicted to, a pattern, a habit, a behavior, whatever it is. A lot of people talk about 21 days. A lot of people talk about different amounts of time. Today we're going to talk about 63 days and beyond, but 63, 9 weeks being the operative amount of time to really get and take care of these behaviors that we don't like. This process is not just about action, right, to get to behavior change. What you have to understand is that your mind and your brain have to work together to do this, to get to this behavioral change in 9 weeks. Why? You have to become aware to call these thoughts, emotions, feelings, whatever up, and that neural network in your brain awake so that it is like, okay, what's up? I'm here. And then you have to take action to start to change that neural network. If it wires together, when it fires together, right? So be thinking about that. Action causes this network that just became aware to fire. And if you can do it in different patterns, you get this behavioral change. I'm going to show you why it takes 9 weeks here in a second, but there's a bunch of parts to this. You have a psychology. This is your emotions and your hormones that will be changing over these 9 weeks. Your mind is also changing, right? The awareness, the thoughts that you subconsciously have will start to change. Your brain, your nervous system, your literal brain changes. There are chemical and physical changes that you will go through. I will show you that. And your DNA. This is epigenetic. That's what that is. Epigenetic changes. Your telomeres. Your telomeres are what determine your biological age. They are what determines what proteins build. They are what determines, it's the book of life for you, essentially. You can change these things, all of these things, as you go through what we're about to kind of dive into. So, as for the 63 days, what does that mean? Well, here's how your actual brain, your plastic brain, breaks down over those days. Day 3 is when you start the very first to get that seed planted. It's the only thing that's happening is there's been a seed planted. When you look at day 7, now you've got some neural connections that are starting to happen up in your brain as you're changing this behavior, as you're doing a new pattern, as you're getting up earlier, as you are not drinking as much, whatever it is that changes, you're starting to make connections there. Or if you have anxiety and you have thoughts that you can't get rid of, right? Being able to start to be aware of those thoughts and take different actions are now starting to derive you new connections. By day 21, you have a new path, right? And this is where a lot of people stop. Day 21, the 21 days, you have a new path, but you're not done. 42, another 21 days is when actual behavior change starts to happen and occur. And 63 through 84 days is when cellular change becomes more permanent. So when you're looking at this stuff, what you want to think about is looking at this 21 day as this is all that's really happening, right? You have gamma peaks, which is a little bit too much jargon here, but you can see change in your brain is the point, right? Long-term memory is starting to be built, and you have a tree, right, that is starting to be built. Your neurons look just like trees. That's a neuron. We're going to show you some more here in a minute. In these 21 days, you are building some proteins around this stuff, right? You're starting to make those connections, but you've got to be, it's like this, a little tiny root is, right? It's stabilizing itself in the ground. It still needs some water necessarily, but it's starting to stabilize itself with some roots. That's exactly what your neurons are doing around day 21. It's not accessible yet. Um, you've got to make it into a habit. So being able to get to that 42 days, that's when real behavior change starts to happen, right? Like we talked about up here. Day 21, there's a new path. At 42, which is 21 plus 21, that old behavior is starting to leave. And then as we go into 63, you're really getting into searing in a deep behavior. So what I'm going to show now is what this looks like. And I'm going to use tree and seeds as an example. When you're looking at your brain, these are baby neurons beginning to burn to the cell body of a baby neuron. You can think of them like seeds of a tree. Imagine these are the seeds of a tree. These neurons that will become giant, huge, beautiful, actual neurons with dendrites, and this is their axon, so many things, right? They all start just like a tree does at a little tiny seed, right? So this is what is starting to happen days 1 through 4. New cell bodies start to form. Neurogenesis. New cell bodies are forming. You can do this with just your thoughts. Literally, you can create new brain cells in your brain. It is the craziest thing ever. It is a superpower. This is what it looks like when you're starting your journey days 1 through 4. As you move forward, you'll notice right here, these little tiny nodules on the top of this thing, right? Have you ever seen a seed? It's the same thing, right? So this, when we get to looking at it, is day 7-ish. Okay, this is not a perfect science. This is that gamma peak I was describing. Measurable growth and change, right? This is after consistently doing something. You're wiring and firing and you're watering these behaviors. You are consistently trying to do something new, think differently, do differently, act differently, right? You're changing that old habit or creating a new habit, right? So if you're starting to get up early, right, on day 7, your brain is starting to wire and push out these little tiny nodules, just like a baby little seed does, right? You can start to notice some differences, but they need more water, right? Water is time, energy, and like investment. You've got to invest in these things. You can't just plant a seed and then hope it grows, right? No, you have to invest money, time, energy into what you are doing, and to continue to water this baby neuron. It's still mostly subconscious at this point. As we keep going down this path, though, you'll notice this little baby seed is now growing a gigantic, its main root, the apical meristem. If I'm remembering ecology, shout out Blue Springs here. Apical meristem is right here, and you start to get these little growths that start to come off of it. Right, this is now a baby tree. Same thing is going on with your neurons, right? They sprout this main axon that starts to pop out of them. Axon's a little technical, but just imagine this. This is the same thing as that initial, what's going to become the trunk of the tree. This is the trunk, right? That's starting to come out. Same thing. This is the trunk of the neuron. So what's happening here at day 14, you're getting the axon that sprouts. That again, that is the trunk of your neuron. As we keep moving forward, what happens next is you start to build out the canopy, right? So our tree is shifting from this and it into an actual, what could resemble more of a tree. Same thing with your neurons. These are what really an actual neuron is really starting to look like. You can really start to understand it, right? This is the base of the neuron, or let's find one. Here's one, right? So here's the base, here's the top, where it's starting to canopy out. This is our trunk, right? That's how an axon, this is what an axon is. This is the axon. This is the same thing. Trunk of the tree, axon, right? This canopy up here would be just like this, right? And then this little base right here is just like the base of the tree, right? This is what is happening in your head. This is day 21, like I mentioned, right? These things can start to now talk to one another. As they are connecting with one another, they are putting all sorts of different wiring and firing and things together. And that's day 21, right? They start to mushroom, is what they call it, and connect with other brain cells. Dendrites are spreading and connecting. These are dendrites. These little things that are coming off of here, those are dendrites. There's dendrites along the axon, there's dendrites along the cell body, there's dendrites all over the place. And they are starting to connect with other neurons. Seeing here how this one is connecting in here? That is when you are really starting to sear in these behavioral changes, and they're starting to connect in with one another and get seared deeper and deeper into the actual behavior and the network of neurons right here. All right, let's keep going. All right, from there, you keep growing. Just like a tree keeps growing, you keep growing and making larger and larger neural connections, right? This tree still is now getting bigger and bigger and bigger as you water it and water it and water it, right? So this is day 42. Significant neural networks are connecting. Now you have conscious awareness, right? There's some subconscious programming, but you at least have conscious awareness that there's really a big change happening, right? The more of these that form, the more subconscious it becomes. Why do you not think about your breathing? Because there are billions and billions and billions of these networks for your breathing, right? You don't think about breathing, you do it subconsciously. That's how you can start to get some of the habits and patterns. You can cause this to happen through this process. So remember, this is day 42. As we keep going, this network gets seared in more and more and more, and it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, wiring and firing, and the connections, and they're all over the place. It's becoming more and more subconscious to you. This is day 63, massive neural network. It is consciously obvious something's going on, and it is really, really starting to become subconscious. Past 63 days, you, in 84 days and beyond, you really start to, like, we meld these things together, and you are really, really, really starting to create a massive, massive center of your brain that becomes so subconscious, it becomes rote, and you have created what you're looking for in your life, in your brain, and you're doing it like we talked about up here, not just in your brain. Yes, what I just showed you is the brain and chemical changes. Your mind will start to shift. You will have different thoughts that pop up. You will not have the same negative thoughts that pop into your head. Your DNA literally will have changed by that point, and your emotions and your psychology, when you're at this place, all of those things have changed and are consistently staying the same. This is 84 days and beyond, right? This does not mean you can just stop and give up. Like, you got to consistently water these things. Any tree has got to be watered, right? But now these things are so seared and rooted in with one another. You've created this beautiful network in your mind and brain, right? And it doesn't take as long as you think. 9 weeks, 64 days, 84 days and beyond is when you're really getting to this. 63 is when you're really getting this nice, beautiful network upstairs. So think about this. When you are going through a behavioral change, be thinking through, okay, if I want my brain to consistently stay and change, I need to go more than 21 days, because all you have at 21 days is this new path. Without water, without nurturing, without continuing to be aware and take action, the behavior change you are seeking just will not happen. Try this out.